Hey, it's Erica, and I am back on my YouTube channel. First, let me say thank you to everyone who watched the video where I just randomly labeled it MGTOW are pathetic. I was waiting in my car. It was a subject I wanted to talk about, didn't get around to it, and it's just interesting how, because I use certain hashtags, I guess I got a lot of attention in it, and it worked for me as far as actually getting views. Like, thank you guys, because, you need a certain amount of views for monetization. But anyway, I do want to address some points that certain people made in the comments. I was not able to read all the comments. I didn't know I was going to get that many comments. Some extremely ignorant and disgusting and stupid. Others very insightful, and I must say that I want to be clear that despite my title, my spontaneous title from my own anger at the situation, I do not want this to be a gender war, because the whole gender war crap is actually part of the problem. Trying to think of where to start. There were so many comments. I do want to say thank you to you gentlemen who gave your viewpoint from a very respectful way, so I could look at it a little bit differently and say, okay, I kind of get that. You guys who just were like, okay, women get older with age. Like, I don't know. What did some asshole say? I don't even remember. But you were just being very derogatory and misogynistic and, you know, yeah. So, can't really give those people too much attention. Now, I am going to read something. I'll try to get into a few of these comments here. But, a couple of guys mentioned that, it's a really hard thing to want to commit to someone or get into the whole thing of a legal contract because there have been some horror stories where the woman will just take all of their money. There's different answers to that. You could have a prenup, but let's just say that you don't. Are we talking about men where there are children involved? So some of this money you're talking about is child support. Maybe you should be paying child support. Are we talking about you went off and cheated or abused her or gambled or all of the above? And because you also ruined her life, yes, you ended up having to give her some money. Because one of the men here, one of the last comments or the most recent comments was mentioning how a lot of men don't want to do this so that they can end up unhappy and just in miserable lives. But what some of you men have to understand, depending on whether you had children with these women or not, those women may also feel like they're stressed out and may have aspects that are also considered miserable. I'm not going to make this a man-bashing thing either because it might have to be a different video. Maybe I'll touch on it in this video. I'm just kind of going off the dome. Women are not completely innocent either, right? But the same way I'm preaching all women are not the same way, I'm also acknowledging all men are not the same way. And some of this is very evident in just some of the responses here. I can't even read them all. I'm kind of amazed. But I have to shut the whole comment thing down. But anyway. Am I talking to the 20-year-old guy, the 30-year-old guy, the 40-year-old guy, 50, and so on? Because what age some of you guys are that are commenting here, that's very relevant. If you're in your 20s and you've seen some serious horror stories, I can see how your age group would be very leery of this type of contract. If you're over 35, I still kind of get it from a human perspective of your concern, but there's also something to be said about, I want to say, just not holding your responsibility or being men. Because what happens is, you don't want to get your money taken away, but a lot of you guys who are commenting are broke anyway, so you're kind of irrelevant. But if we're talking about some men that actually have a bit of capital, some investments, some property, anything like that, you might have a valid point, but then a lot of people will also ask, what's the point of having these things if you can't share it with someone you love? Like, if you know that song, It's a man's world, but ain't nothing without a woman or a girl. There's like some like truth to that. Are you ever really going to be happy if you just keep it all to yourself and just have your little sex on the side? That's going to feel good for a while, right? That's part of the problem. I think some men are trained to think by being a player, it's like you're proving something, you're proving your youth, you're proving that you can still do it, you still got it, but there's a lot that's lacking in that, even for your own spiritual and emotional development. So it might feel like, ooh, I still got it, I still got all my hair. Let me just, get all these chicks at the club or bar. Okay, that's nice. But at some point, that's going to get old, even if you don't admit it to yourself. It has to. It has to. Human beings are put on this earth to have like intimacy and some sort of, even just like a special bond that is not going to be had by just casual sex. So there'll be some pauses here. Might have to edit somewhat, it's what it is. Drinking a Garnache here. It's Friday, in case you're wondering. Not that that matters. Garnacha from Spain. Uh, Let's read another comment here. I'm not going to read one that's just going to make me want to curse them out. Oh God, some of these don't make sense. I'm sorry to keep you guys waiting. Like I said, I might have to edit. I might not. Some of these are just hilarious. Yeah, okay, so someone put something interesting here. It's a little bit of an insult, but it's also kind of funny. Because you don't know my situation, right? I could be on here speaking my point of view. I could be married. I could not be married. I could have kids. I could not have kids. Those of you that might know me personally know the deal. But some of these comments are assuming I'm coming on because of a reason, but you don't know. So this one says, someone is really disconnected with reality, when a creature with an extremely limited productive window with very narrow use before date, and some of these people don't speak good English, comes on YouTube lecturing men in all capital letters on your time is limited. Laughing my ass off. So this person, who's titled The Observer, I'm reading your comment, The Observer, is basically saying that we're coming on here because we want to have children so bad, and it's just hilarious because we're talking to you when your sperm is not limited, but our eggs are limited. The interesting thing is, you don't know if I have kids or not, or if I even want to. As I mentioned clearly in the video, family can also be based on just husband and wife dynamics, just partnership. Kids could or could not be involved. So a lot of this also has to do with just wanting companionship, right? Speaking on this whole MGTOW movement, MGTOW movement, where it's like, wow, so a lot of you guys are just abandoning your woman. And then there's multi-layers here, because I'm not just speaking of Americans, right? Because I'm talking to all men, but then I'm also a little bit annoyed with African American men, right? Because you start to question, do they even care about the wealth of the black race, right? So it goes a little deeper than this. This is just not all about, oh no, I have 3 more years to have kids, and oh my God, I need to find someone and curse everyone out on YouTube because I want to have kids. You don't do that shit, so calm down, right? That's actually not the case. I'm just speaking on this generation, these times we live in where people really just are so selfish. If you also listened to the video and read what I wrote underneath, people are just so selfish in this me generation that a lot of men are just making it all about them, and they're basically ditching their responsibilities as a man, according to some philosophies. That might be my views, right? Doesn't have to be everybody's views, but if you're just out here just to like be individualistic and be on your couch all night and like one clever person in these comments said, just bring me the doll, bring me the robot. And the sad thing is, like, these people are kind of serious. Like, you'd rather deal with the doll or the robot than a real human being. So a lot is lost. It's not everyone's fault. Technology has a lot to do with it. Another gentleman in here mentioned liberalism, and he was actually really cool because the last video was only 7 minutes. Again, impromptu. But he was like, well, you didn't mention liberalism. Liberalism has a lot to do with it, right? We're not in a very balanced society. And on that note, if I ever get big on YouTube and they take me down, don't be surprised, because from what I understand, anybody that tries to speak from a place of balance, or like has centrist sort of views, i.e. balanced, right, are taken down because they want extremes. So some people may have been even surprised at my responses to them because I wasn't like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, actually, you might have a good point, and I understand that perspective. This is not a war. One of the reasons I'm talking about this is I'm sick of this sort of imposed gender war that is probably a result of liberalism, as one of these nice men said. And also, I'll even add on to that what I call hyper-feminism, which really is not even feminine. So I'm going to ramble here like some of my favorite YouTubers. Forgive the pauses. If I'm not going to edit, I don't have time for that. I think feminism is great if you're talking about, like, the right to vote, equal pay for doing the same job, not being oppressed, not being beaten. Obviously, I'm going to be a feminist when it comes to those type of issues. But that's what I call old school or authentic feminism, where you're really just protecting your experience in life, protecting yourself on this earth. You want to be a happy person. Some things just don't make sense. Let's fight for our rights. That's cool. The feminism that's happening now is insanity. And if you really look at it, is really like not very feminine. Of course, they're going to say, well, how can you say what a woman is? And I don't even want to get into all that. Oh my God. But I think we all know what emits the feeling of being feminine. It might be expressed in different ways. Some people might have short hair, long hair, thin, thick, makeup. We get it. We're not saying it all has to be expressed in a Barbie doll format, but we know with our like spirit language what being feminine is. So when you have a lot of women like trying to compete with their man on just certain things and being so aggressive and I can do everything myself and I'm so independent, I don't need a man. Well, this is part of what's causing what I consider this sickness, this illness. It's one thing to be able to take care of yourself as a woman, because all kind of things happen. You might have gotten married to someone who died too early, or things just happen in life where I think that everyone should be in a position to take care of themselves. Just because a woman should maybe know how to use a saw and a drill doesn't mean that she should have to or want to. The same way a lot of men they probably should know how to do certain things, they might not want to or have to. Right, so when you accept that there are different roles in the male-female dynamics, and it's what I call equivalent but not equal. In feminism, it's like women run this thing where we're equal to men. We're equal to men. No, it's not. If you remember mathematics, I don't remember what grade or what year, I'm sure it was even repeated, this concept. You probably remember the concept of equal on a scale versus equivalent on a scale. So if you have 20 grapes and 20 grapes, right? They're probably going to be pretty equal, right, in the sense, but they're also both grapes. You might put 20 grapes, right? And then you might put a few strawberries, right? Or an orange. They're both fruit. They both carry nutritional value. They're both fruit. So they might weigh the same exact amount of ounces on the scale. That makes them equivalent, not equal. However, one is not better than the other. So in a patriarchal society, it's like men have somehow become to be seen as more valuable, perhaps because of the money they were making. I'm talking about more like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like that kind of thing. And so something got a little lost where women had to enter the workforce for whatever reason. And of course, you're not going to pay me less than you pay him to do the same job. So a lot of this feminism stemmed more from that. But let me not digress. We talk about being equal versus equivalent. Men and women are not equal as far as human beings and self-worth and self-value, and the fact that, yes, we are human beings, we are equivalent, we are of equal value, but we are not the same exact substance, the same exact material. We're just not. So that's really something that's leading us in the wrong direction. People thinking that we're all equal, and then it just messes up the whole vibe. I read something the other day about how a lot of men psychologically, over time, they pride themselves on being men, and what kind of makes certain men bond to other men is doing something for the community together. So, like, if you help someone get out of the snowstorm, say in their car. I'm just thinking of random things. Or if all of you men are doing the manly things like a cookout or a barbecue and you're the ones on the grill, whatever it is, throw it out there. Men tend to feel good about themselves when they can do these things, right? When they can do it for society, when they can do it for their family, for their woman. It's just a good feeling. So when men take that away, when women take that away, because they can do everything, it does cause a problem. Now, the issue is it gets a little murky. Are we talking about physical things? Are we talking about things that involve money? Because this is where it kind of gets a little messy, because a lot of women, if they're making more money than the man, it kind of makes him feel inadequate. But it's just so many different things, man. I might have to pause and come back and piece these two together. Like I said, this is off the top of the dome, so it's just so many different topics to this. If you really love someone, and that's part of the issue, right? Where's the love in a lot of this? On the one hand, a lot of this has to do with building wealth, but that's not all there is, right? People always think it has to be one or the other. Why can't we have people that we really love and care about, but we also understand the benefit of this marital contract to build wealth? And then everyone's situation is different. What state do you live in? What country do you live in? So I'm not going to sit here and pretend to just be an expert, but what I do know is that there's definitely a struggle happening amongst many people, including both men and women. This is just not, oh, women are coming on here and mad at the MGTOWs because they want to bear a few children and their clocks are running out. Hey, there might be some women who are doing that. But there are some women who are actually questioning just the integrity of humanity and trying to understand where our souls are going. Seriously, what's happening as far as our own spiritual and mental and just human fulfillment. People need companionship. So everyone trying to go their own way, right? I even saw something the other day, women going their own way. I mean, it's just really stupid to me, honestly. Those of you who follow all this stuff, yin yang, it's male, female. Things happen in twos, right? We have two hands, we have two eyes, we have two nostrils, we have two lips. You might have one heart. Think about that there, but we won't get too deep into that, right? But things come in pairs. So it's not just so abnormal and just so ridiculous for people to genuinely want to be in a relationship. So if the fear of past relationships or even past marriages have given you a really bitter taste, I'm actually going to let you have that bitter taste, because again, that's a different category than the man I'm talking to who's maybe not been married, maybe a little younger, but is just kind of following this MGTOW movement because it either seems cool to do or it's just another way of saying I'm a player. And there's definitely a social irresponsibility men have when they're like that, because you're not taking accountability for the fact that you can be hurting a lot of women's feelings. Now, some will argue it could go the other way around. Of course, women hurt men. That's half of what I saw in some of these comments. Like, well, first they ignore you. Neighbors, annoying neighbors. First they ignore you, then they hurt you, then you this. So I'm actually seeing a lot of hurt in some of these MGTOW people. And this is the compassionate part of me, because I don't think all MGTOW men are just evil people. I think they're using it as a wall or a this mechanism to not get hurt, so they can just say, well, I'm going to do me, and I'm not going to get into all this, and screw women. But it's a defense mechanism. Then you have some of these men who are just straight up misogynists. So MGTOWs happen. They come in different ways. There's a lot of MGTOWs who've never even heard the term. Their actions are MGTOW. They just want to keep being players until Lord knows when. And you know what? That's your right. So if you really watch my whole video, hey, we all can do what we all want to do. Just know that if you have a conscience, or if you're going to consider yourself so pro-black, and like a lot of these so-called conscious brothers out here, you're kind of faking the funk when you are so conscious, but like you're still trying to have a harem of chicks. Like, this doesn't work. But I'm going to take a little pause, come back, read some more comments, and I'll pick one so I'm not like thrown off guard, because some of y'all honestly need to get Grammarly or something. Just get something so you know how to read properly. I don't know what's happening with society, but some of you can't write properly. So I'll be back, right? Thanks for listening, and thanks for all the views. You're going to help me get my monetization. So I'm going to use some nifty hashtags a little more often. See you in a bit.